Have you ever felt like your days just slip by without leaving a mark, trapped in routine while your true potential slowly fades away? It's easy to fall into the comfort trap, watching your dreams dim little by little. But imagine what would happen if every single day you pushed yourself to grow, challenged your limits, and moved closer to the best version of yourself. In this video, you'll learn how to stop wasting your potential and finally become the person you've always wanted to be. The Stoics left us 13 powerful lessons that, if you apply them daily, can completely transform your life, from building unshakable habits to learning how to thrive in discomfort and stop comparing yourself to others. These teachings hold the key to pushing yourself to be better, day after day. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. What you need is to force yourself to work on yourself, to overcome your limits, and to live in alignment with your values. Are you ready to start working on your best self? Before we continue, let me tell you Laura's story. Laura never had it easy. Since she was little, people told her she wasn't smart enough, that she wasn't as talented as her older brother or as outgoing as her friends, and over time, she started to believe it. At school, she was the girl who sat at the back of the class, never raising her hand because she thought it wasn't worth trying. At work, she was good, but she never stood out, too afraid to fail. And so, day after day, Laura lived on autopilot, convinced she was just meant to be average. But deep down, she knew she wanted more. She knew she was wasting her life. One day, while sitting in the park, she watched a group of runners pass by, thinking, I wish I could run like that. But then something caught her eye. Among the runners was an older man, probably in his 60s, with a prosthetic leg, and yet he was running faster than anyone else. His pace was unstoppable, and his expression showed a kind of inner strength she had never seen before. Laura couldn't help but walk up to him. How do you do it? She asked. Where do you get that energy? The man, without stopping, just smiled and said, it's all in your mind. Your body will do whatever you believe is possible. Then he paused, took a deep breath, and added, every morning, I repeat these words from Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That phrase hit Laura like a lightning bolt. That night, as she repeated those words in her mind, something shifted. For the first time, she stopped looking for excuses and decided to take action. The next morning, she woke up 20 minutes earlier and wrote down what she really wanted in life. At first, her answers were small but clear: learn something new, feel proud of herself, stop being afraid of failure. Wow! She hadn't even realized she had those thoughts inside her. Progress was slow, of course, but every day she forced herself to take one more step, remembering the words of the man in the park, reminding herself that control wasn't in what happened to her, but in what she chose to do about it. Today, Laura isn't famous or a millionaire, but she is someone who faces each day with purpose. And that man in the park, along with Marcus Aurelius's words, taught her something that changed her life forever. Greatness isn't about what happens to you, it's about what you decide to do with it, one day at a time. Before we continue, if you're finding value in this content, consider subscribing and becoming an exclusive member to access unique benefits. And tell us in the comments, what are you doing today to become your best self? We want to grow together with you. 1. Every day counts. Imagine a rope made of hundreds, even thousands, of thin strands. Each strand represents a day of your life. If you use it well, that strand is strong and adds something valuable. But if you let it pass without purpose, it becomes weak, fragile, useless. Now tell me, how many strands are you letting break because you keep telling yourself there's always time tomorrow? Let me be clear, every single day, you are making choices, whether you realize it or not. You're either building something solid or letting time slip through your fingers. Be honest with yourself, how many times have you said, I'll do it tomorrow? Maybe you wanted to start working out, learn something new, or finally deal with that unresolved issue. But that tomorrow never comes. Sound familiar? Marcus Aurelius said, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive. For him, this wasn't just a nice phrase, it was a daily practice. Every morning, he took a few moments to reflect on his duties, not just as an emperor, but as a human being. He reminded himself of his responsibility to act with virtue, to make the most of every moment by being just, compassionate, and wise. He knew that each day was a new opportunity to lead with purpose and grow, even in the face of the hardest challenges. Because as difficult as it may be to hear, we need to keep this in mind: not everyone gets the chance to see another day. But you do. And every time you put things off, you're letting something unique slip away, something that will never come back. Time lost is never regained. This isn't about accomplishing everything in a single day, it's about giving today the value it deserves. Think about this: how do you want to feel tonight when you go to bed? Proud that you made progress, or frustrated because you let another day pass without purpose? So how can you make the most of every day? When you wake up, ask yourself, what can I do today to be better? And I'm not talking about huge things, just something that makes a difference, something that adds up. Want to strengthen a relationship? Call that person. Want to learn something new? Spend 30 minutes reading or watching a video about it. But do it today, not tomorrow. Because tomorrow is just an excuse. And that's not all. I want you to do one more thing. When you wake up tomorrow, ask yourself how you want to show up. This is something I learned from Roxy Nafouzi, who suggests starting the day by thinking, with what energy do I want to face the day? Because it's not just about checking off tasks, it's about the attitude you bring to them. With gratitude, with enthusiasm, with determination. That energy shapes everything, how you feel, how you act, and ultimately how you end your day. Don't underestimate the power of a single day. Each one is a chance to improve, to grow, to move closer to the life you want. But if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, that moment will never come. So tell me, how much longer are you going to wait before you start building something that truly matters? 2. You are capable of more than you think. Have you ever noticed that most of the time, the biggest obstacle in your life is you? Listen, it's not the world, it's not a lack of resources, and it's not even your circumstances. It's you. That voice in your head that says, I can't, the one that stops you before you even try. But let me tell you something, those barriers aren't real. They exist only in your mind. How many times have you held yourself back just because you thought you weren't enough? Enough, my friend. I'm here to tell you the truth, you are enough. You are capable. Epictetus made this very clear when he said, circumstances don't make the man, they reveal him. What does this mean? That challenges are what show you what you're really made of. He himself was born into slavery, but he never let his situation define him. Through inner work and perseverance, he became one of the most influential philosophers in history. His life is proof that the limits we set for ourselves are mental. And my friend, you are no exception. Think about Charlie Chaplin's story. As a child, he lived in an orphanage, spending entire days just trying to find something to eat. The world saw him as just another poor kid, someone destined for a life of struggle. But Chaplin didn't see himself that way. He once said, even back then, I considered myself the greatest actor in the world. Powerful, right? That belief in his own potential is what led him to become one of the most legendary figures in film history. And this isn't just philosophy or feel-good stories. Science backs it up, too. A study published in Psychological Science analyzed how self-belief affects performance in challenging situations. How did they test it? They asked a group of people to take on difficult tasks, solving complex problems, completing physical exercises, and found that those who truly believed in their ability not only performed better but also persisted longer, even when things got tough. Why does this happen? Because when you think you can't, your brain shuts down. But when you believe you can, something shifts. Your mind starts searching for solutions, for alternatives, for ways to push forward. Your mindset is the key to unlocking your true potential. Now let me put you in a situation. Imagine you're faced with an opportunity, giving a presentation, applying for that dream job, reaching out to someone you admire. But instead of taking the leap, you start thinking, I'm not ready. Someone else will do it better. Sound familiar? Let me be blunt, that voice holding you back is wrong. You don't need to be 100% prepared. The only thing you need to do is start. Isn't it time to change that? Here are 2 things you can do today. First, make a list of things you believe are impossible. Maybe it's running a marathon, writing a book, learning a new language. Write down just one, and take the first step. Buy a book, go for a walk, sign up for a course, but do something. Second, challenge yourself once a week. Step out of your comfort zone. Speak in public. Say no when you'd usually say yes. Or try something that scares you. Each challenge will prove to you that you're far stronger than you thought. Because believe me, you are worth more than you think, you know more than you realize, and you matter more than you imagine. Your potential is there, waiting for you to stop limiting yourself. So tell me, how much longer are you going to wait before discovering what you're truly capable of? 3. Build habits that never fail. Do you know the biggest mistake people make when trying to change their lives? Believing that willpower alone will be enough. Listen, no matter how motivated you feel, that energy won't last forever. But do you know what will? Habits. Because let's be clear, strong habits aren't built on motivation. They're built on systems. If you rely only on willpower, sooner or later you'll fail. But if you design a system that works for you, habits become second nature. Let me share something personal, something that might help you. A few years ago, I had an injury that forced me to stretch every day to avoid pain. At first, I struggled with consistency. I'd do it one day, but the next I'd forget or just not feel like it. It was frustrating. But one day, I decided to change my approach. I stopped relying on my memory or willpower. I created a system. I placed my yoga mat right next to my bed so it would be the first thing I saw in the morning. I made it a ritual. I played the same 3-minute song every time and committed to doing it, no excuses. The result? Within weeks, I didn't even have to think about it anymore. It became automatic. That system changed everything, and the habit stopped feeling like a burden. Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert and author of How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big, puts it bluntly: goals are for losers. Systems are for winners. What does he mean by that? Goals on their own can trap you in frustration. You become so focused on the final result that you forget what really matters, the process. If you're only thinking about the outcome, every little setback can feel like a failure. But if you focus on building a solid system that moves you forward, day after day, the system will keep you going no matter what. So how do you create a system that builds habits that never fail? Start small. Don't try to change everything at once. Let's say you want to drink more water. Don't aim for 2 liters a day right from the start. Begin with something manageable, like drinking a glass of water as soon as you wake up. And make it easy. If a habit requires too much effort, you'll quit. Think about it: what's more effective, getting out of bed and walking to the kitchen to fill a glass of water, or having a full bottle of water already waiting for you on your nightstand? The answer is obvious, right? When you remove obstacles, habits become effortless. You won't have to think about doing it, it'll just be there, ready to go. And here's the key: integrate your habit into your daily routine. Don't try to create a habit in isolation. Attach it to something you already do. This is called habit stacking. For example, if you already have the habit of brushing your teeth in the morning, use that as a trigger for your new habit. You brush your teeth, you pick up the glass of water you left the night before, and just like that, you've started your day with a new habit. Why does this work? Because when you link a new habit to something you already do, you don't have to remember it or rely on willpower. Over time, it becomes as automatic as brushing your teeth. Seneca made this clear centuries ago: consistency beats talent. It's not about what you achieve in a single day, it's about what you can sustain over time. Think of habits like a flowing river. You don't need to push the water, you just have to design the right path so it keeps flowing, day after day, until it carries you to success. Trust me, my friend, building systems isn't about making life harder. It's about making it easier and more effective. Invest in yourself as a priority. You ever heard the story of the lumberjack? Every day he went into the forest with his old axe to cut down trees. At first, things went well, but over time the blade dulled. Cutting a single tree started taking him hours, leaving him completely exhausted. One day someone told him, "Why don't you buy a new axe or sharpen the one you have?" But the lumberjack, frustrated and tired, replied, "I don't have money for that. I need to keep working." And so he kept going, wearing himself out more and more, until one day he simply couldn't continue. He finally realized that unless he invested in a better tool, he would never escape the cycle of endless effort with little result. So he gathered what little money he had, bought a new axe, and suddenly everything changed. The trees fell with less effort, he worked fewer hours, and he finished his days with enough energy to start thinking about new opportunities. Do you see the point? Too often we are just like that lumberjack. We keep pushing ourselves, using our minds, our bodies, our energy until we're completely worn out. And when someone tells us we need to invest in ourselves, we say, "I don't have time. I don't have money. I can't afford it right now." But listen, the truth is simple: if you don't invest in yourself, you'll keep burning out until there's nothing left. Marcus Aurelius understood this centuries ago. He said, "Always choose to strengthen your mind and body, for everything else depends on it." And he was right. Because if you don't take time to recharge, to learn, to take care of your health, how are you going to move forward? How can you build the life you want if you're working with worn-out tools? Did you know psychology has a name for this? It's called caregiver syndrome. It happens when you spend all your energy taking care of others, your family, your friends, your co-workers, and forget about yourself. The result? You burn out. You lose your health, your energy, and worst of all, your sense of purpose. Because trying to take care of others without taking care of yourself is like trying to pour from an empty cup. You simply can't. In fact, studies have shown that many people with this syndrome suffer from anxiety and extreme exhaustion, all because they never give themselves permission to be a priority. Now think about your own life. Imagine you've spent weeks putting out fires at work, helping others, and constantly putting your needs at the bottom of the list. How do you feel at the end of the day? Probably drained, unmotivated, running on fumes. And that's the problem: when you don't invest in yourself, each day becomes harder than the last. But here's the good news: investing in yourself doesn't require huge sacrifices, just small changes that make a difference. Dedicate 20 minutes a day to something that nourishes you mentally or physically. Go for a walk, read a book that inspires you, sit in silence and meditate. These moments may seem insignificant, but they help you recharge. And most importantly, learn to say no. I know it sounds easy, but it's not. However, every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to your well-being. Maybe it means canceling an unnecessary meeting or skipping commitments that drain you. Those numbers are a way to protect the most valuable things you have, your time and your energy. Investing in yourself is like putting money into a high-yield investment. At first, it might not seem like much. But if you commit to taking care of yourself day after day, you won't just live better, you'll build the life you've always wanted. And that's something worth fighting for. Becoming better is not selfish. Tell me something, my friend, have you ever felt guilty for wanting to improve, for dedicating time to yourself, while others look at you like, how selfish? Maybe you've heard things like, you only think about yourself, or, you should care more about others, and there you are, questioning whether you're doing something wrong. We've been taught to believe that working on ourselves means neglecting others. But listen carefully, investing in yourself is not selfish, it's the only way to truly help others. Seneca said it centuries ago, if you want to help the world, first improve yourself. And this isn't just some nice philosophy, it's pure common sense. How can you give your best if you're exhausted, frustrated, or lost? How can you be a great leader, friend, or partner if you're constantly neglecting yourself? You can't pour from an empty pitcher. If you truly want to give something to others, you have to start by strengthening yourself first. Let me tell you a story that proves self-improvement isn't selfish, it's growth. A friend of mine made a tough decision. He quit his job to focus on studying something that would set him up for a better future. And let me tell you the things people said about him. They called him every name in the book, but he stayed focused. He knew this was his one shot to change his life. For 3 entire years, he locked himself away in his doctorate program, no nights out, no distractions. Every hour was spent studying, researching, preparing for his future. Meanwhile, his wife took on the full financial burden, running their home alone. And people whispered, he's selfish. His wife does everything while he just studies. But now everyone is silent. No one says a word. Today, my friend is a doctor. He holds a prestigious position and his life has changed completely. They bought a new home. They have stability, opportunities, peace of mind. He improved himself, and as a result, his entire family's life improved. What once seemed selfish is now the reason they are living the life they always dreamed of. And you, what would you have done in his place? Would you have played it safe, just to avoid what people might say? Or would you have bet on yourself, knowing that in the end the sacrifice would be worth it? If you want to apply this in your own life, start by dedicating time each week to your values and strengths. Do you want to expand your knowledge? Set aside time to read or learn something new every week. Do you want to improve your health? Commit to your physical and mental well-being. Schedule time for exercise and personal care. If you value family, work on becoming the best version of yourself for them. It's not about taking away from others. It's about strengthening yourself so you can give more. And here's something important, stand your ground when people question you. You don't need to justify every decision you make for your personal growth. If someone says you've changed, respond with pride, thank you. That was the goal. Because at the end of the day, what version of yourself are you offering to the world? That's what you need to reflect on. Because pushing yourself to be better every single day doesn't just transform you, it elevates everyone around you. So tell me, are you going to keep living according to other people's expectations, or will you finally become the person you truly want to be? Imagine you're running on a track. You're focused, breathing well, keeping a steady pace, but suddenly, you start looking to the sides. You see someone running faster, another who doesn't even seem tired, and instead of keeping your rhythm, you become obsessed with them. You tense up, you lose your stride, and worst of all, you stop moving forward. Sound familiar? That's exactly what happens when you compare yourself to others. It doesn't make you faster. It doesn't make you better. It just distracts you and holds you back. Do you know what Epictetus would tell you? Don't worry about what others do, focus on what you can control. And he was right. What good does it do to waste your energy watching someone else's progress if it changes nothing in your own life? If you spend more time observing what others are doing than working on yourself, you're not just losing focus, you're losing your own progress. And this is where the worst enemy of all comes in, social media. I'm sure it's happened to you. You wake up in the morning, grab your phone without thinking, and start scrolling. You see someone traveling, another person running a successful business, someone else in the best shape of their life, and there you are, still lying in bed, feeling like you're falling behind. But my friend, do you know what's really happening? You're comparing your reality to the most polished, edited version of someone else's life. And while you're doing that, you're not doing anything for your own life. So what can you do to break this cycle? First, set personal goals and measure your progress based on who you were yesterday, not on anyone else. If you did something better today than you did last week, that's progress. If you took one more step in your project, that's what matters. Your only competition is yourself. Second, if social media makes you feel inadequate, step away from it. And here's a real piece of advice: don't touch your phone in the first hour of your day. It's forbidden. Studies show that starting your day with social media affects your mood and puts you in a reactive state instead of a proactive one. A great example of this is in the podcast The 5 AM Club, where they explain that the first thing you consume in the morning shapes your mindset. If instead of opening Instagram, you take a moment to plan your day or do something productive, you'll start with a mindset of action instead of comparison. And yes, I know it's hard to do because we're completely addicted, but it's not impossible. How can you make it easier? First, leave your phone outside your bedroom when you sleep. If necessary, use a traditional alarm clock. Second, when you wake up, do something that helps you improve, read, write, exercise, or simply plan your day. You don't need to disappear from the internet, just make sure the first thing you do every morning isn't comparing yourself to others.